So let's just get right into it. Picking a college major. It seems like it should be a straightforward question, but for so many of us today, it feels more like trying to solve some crazy complicated maze with the lights off. It's one of the first really big decisions you make, and man, the pressure to get it right feels absolutely massive. But let's pause for a second and ask, why? Why is this one choice so incredibly stressful? I mean, it's a question that honestly keeps students, and let's be real, their parents too, up at night. You've got this endless list of options, and you're trying to weigh it against your entire future. It's enough to feel completely and totally paralyzed. And hey, if any of that is ringing a bell, the first thing you need to hear is this. You are so not alone. That feeling of being totally overwhelmed, it's pretty much a universal experience now. So that's what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to break down why it's gotten so tough and really look at the forces at play, both the ones inside our own heads and the ones coming from the world around us. All right, let's start with what's going on internally. Because a huge chunk of this stress, it really comes from our own fears about what's coming next. These are those nagging thoughts, that what ifs that just echo in your mind when you're trying to land on a decision. And this one is a biggie. It's the fear of making a super costly mistake, right? You pick a path, you pour a year, maybe 2 years of your life into it, and then that sinking feeling hits, this isn't it. And suddenly the consequences just feel enormous. More tuition money, more semesters, and that thing everyone dreads, a delayed graduation. It feels like this financial and emotional trap that you're desperate to avoid. Then you've got this other fear, the fear of the great unknown. I mean, all we hear about is how AI and automation are going to completely change the job market. It just creates this deep, nagging anxiety that the thing you spend 4 years of your life studying could be totally obsolete 10 years down the road. It makes the whole idea of picking a safe major feel, well, almost impossible. And really, this kind of ties it all together. It's the fear of being locked in. There's this idea that your major is basically a life sentence, that one choice you make when you're 18 or 19 is going to dictate the next 40 years of your career, and there's no going back, no room to change. That is an insane amount of pressure to put on a single decision. But of course, it's not just about our own internal fears. Not at all. We are also getting slammed by this constant stream of opinions and expectations from the outside world, which just cranks up the pressure to a whole new level. And all of these outside forces, they're so powerful because they can quietly pull you away from what you actually want. It could be your parents' expectations, seeing what all your friends are doing, getting caught up in the hype about a six-figure salary, or just picking a major because it sounds impressive. Following those voices can easily lead you to a choice that's a complete mismatch for who you are, which, down the line, often leads to some serious regret. And this right here, this boils it all down to that one central conflict. It's the classic tug of war, isn't it? Do you go with your passion, the thing you're genuinely curious and excited about, or do you go for the paycheck, the path that seems to promise financial security? So often we're made to feel like we can't have both, and we're forced to choose between being happy and being stable. So, okay, you've got your own fears, you've got all this pressure from the outside, but there's a third huge piece of the puzzle. We're often making this monumental decision in a total vacuum, with this massive disconnect between what we think a career is like and what it's actually like. And that's where this idea of real-world exposure comes in. It's so critical. Without things like internships or job shadowing, or even just having some honest talks with people who are actually in the fields you're thinking about, you're basically choosing a major based on a fantasy. You're working with theories and ideas, not the nitty-gritty reality of what that job feels like day in and day out. This disconnect is what fuels some of the biggest myths out there. For instance, there's this really common assumption that if you major in the humanities or arts, well, good luck finding a job. But the reality, the skills you learn there, critical thinking, amazing communication, are in super high demand in fields like tech, marketing, even law. That whole idea that only a STEM degree guarantees you a secure future, it's just not the full picture. Every single industry needs people who are creative problem solvers and great communicators. Okay, so we've laid out the problem. The pressure is suffocating, the fears are totally real, and a lot of the time, we're flying blind with incomplete information. But what if we could just reframe this whole decision? What if we stopped looking at it like a life sentence and started seeing it as a starting point? Here's a way to start making that mental shift. First, just take a breath and consciously identify where all that pressure is coming from. Family, society, your friends, and really ask yourself, does this line up with what I want? Second, you have to actively fight back against this myth that there is one single perfect path out there for you. And third, and this is probably the most important part, shift your entire focus. Stop trying to find the perfect job title. Instead, focus on building a toolkit of valuable skills, things like great communication, adaptability, creative problem solving, because those are the things you can take with you to any career. Which really brings us to a final thought to leave you with. Look, the world is changing faster than ever before. So maybe the goal shouldn't be to find that one perfect, straight, unchanging path for the rest of your life. Maybe the real point of college is to become a great navigator, to get the skills, the confidence, and the mindset to chart your own course, and to adjust it with confidence no matter where the journey takes you. How would things change if you started to see it that way?